just wanted to get you on and take a coach who's basically grown up in St. Louis, played in the St. Louis baseball scene. This is Baseball 101. Let's break it down to the bare bones. We have right-handed pitching phenom Nick Boughton here. Hello and welcome in, everyone, to Baseball 101, powered by Youth Baseball Midwest. My name's Dave Wiggins. I'm your host. We've got Mitch Thomas on the line today from the Hitting Zone. And we also have assistant coach at Johnson County Community College, Coach Michael Yeager. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
I'm good, sir.
Doing well.
Awesome. Good to hear. We're joining essentially a conversation that we kind of started on Mitch's podcast, and we're moving it over. We're crossing it over here to Baseball 101. Crossover is more of a basketball term. I was trying to think of a baseball term, but I just can't think of it on the fly. So we're going to go with crossover. Really wanted to dive deep into junior college baseball, kind of the current landscape of junior college baseball. You have words thrown around. You hear Power JUCO now, right? I mean, obviously I've heard of Power 5, Power 4. Now they're saying Power JUCO. I just feel like, and obviously Johnson County, falls into that mix, but I feel like now more than ever, junior college baseball it's so competitive. It's highly exciting to watch. Coach, you've been there, 11, 12 years?
Yep.
How's junior college baseball at Johnson County changed in your 11, 12 years from when you first got there?
Well, man, when I first got there, we'd have guys that would go Division I, but man, it'd be around 10 or so, and man, a lot of them end up maybe not quite panning out or whatnot, and then now just the level of talent we get and the level of tools that we get has just exponentially changed. So, man, like even going back to when I played versus when I coached versus when I'm now, like each staff had maybe a couple guys that would throw 90. And when I first started coaching, our number 1 and 2 were throwing upper 80s, and that was pretty special. And then we had a bullpen arm that was maybe 90s, and that was pretty special. Where now we had like 15 guys throw 92 plus or something, and like 7 or 8 throw 95 plus. And that's the craziest thing to me that has changed. And guys, they still get hit. Like, man, these JUCO hitters can still hit them. They can time a fastball, which those hack attacks and the eye pitch machines and stuff like that make a big difference in that. But just the level of tools flying around the field is definitely crazy. We recruit speed. Don't get me wrong, but we always got guys 6'5" and under, and we put pressure on defense with that, and every team does. Every team's got guys that run fast, throw hard, and can barrel up a fastball 400 feet. So that's definitely changed where you had to kind of manufacture versus those guys when I first started. Now that's no thing anymore to put one over the trees. So it's all different, really.
Yeah, Mitch, obviously you've been in the baseball scene a long, long time. You played at Missouri Western, and you've coached at Wash U, you've coached softball, you've coached baseball. What have you watched many JUCO games recently? Have you seen a lot of JUCO ball lately?
Well, I just graduated a couple of classes in the past couple of years and was strong advocates of pushing to the junior college side. One, a place to continue to develop. Maybe that kid was underage, 17 years old, a young high school graduate that needed an extra year or something of that nature. And so I always thought that was the great place to go until I started actually contacting and reaching to coaches, and they're saying, well, this is what we're looking for. And I'm like, man, when I played baseball, he coach talked about it. He's like upper 8s. I'm talking guys that threw 84, 85 were legit. And if you threw 90, you got drafted, right? Steve Collier was then the Mark Burley guys. Like, you got to remember, they just threw 90. They didn't throw what these kids do. And it's like, we have 8th graders that can throw these kinds of numbers. And it's crazy to me. And so if you're looking at winning programs just across the board, these are dudes. They're just men everywhere they go. And so, when I talk to an athlete, I go, what is your real dream outcome? That's what I ask my players right now. What is your dream outcome? And if it's Division I tell them that here's how to develop the plan. It doesn't work because at Division I, they want 22-year-olds. And we're seeing it. We talked about it earlier today that Webster had 22 and 23-year-olds on there. 5 years ago, that was unheard of. And I know that coach has some guys that have trickled down from a D1 into the JUCO levels. Again, it's becoming harder and harder for a freshman walking into college to play college baseball. And so, for me, it's way different than when I played, when I recruited, when I was at Wash U. And even when I was coaching high school ball at Timberland, I can't just tell kids to go play JUCO baseball anymore because it's so darn difficult to play at every level. And I really think that Division 3 and Division 2 maybe, as you said earlier, maybe that's the JUCO stuff. It's a little bit different in those 4 years. I could be wrong there, but that's I love this conversation because this one's hard. I think for people to understand because it's difficult to play college baseball, and it's even showing like do not sleep on junior college and stuff and get away from it's a community college. It's a 2 year. It's junk. No, it's hard. It's still a great education, folks.
Coach, I wanted you to kind of give us a picture of the facilities in Johnson County, the area you're in. Obviously, you're in a nicer area in Kansas. Just what, if you're a young, student athlete and you go toward Johnson County as a baseball recruit, what are these guys seeing? What do you guys have to offer? How does it compare to some of the other JUCOs in our region?
Man, we're very blessed. So we have, there's only a couple JUCOs who can compete with us facility wise. We know that we're blessed. We make sure we earn it every day. But man, we got a full turf field, dugouts, all that stuff, nice big. They just got redone, got heaters in them, all that good stuff. Press box, concession stands down the field. We got aware cameras at our facility, so every swing they take, every pitch they throw on our field is going to be recorded and for development and recruiting purposes. And then up in the indoor, I think it's 40 something thousand square feet. It's massive. It's our community center technically, but man, when we need it, it's ours. So we get the whole facility. There's 6 cages in it. There's walls for guys to do plyo stuff. We can do live ABs in the cages. We can do team defense on the courts. It's we're very very lucky. We got a two-sided weight room that we use with a weights guy who used to be in the minor leagues. So he's unbelievable. He's a baseball guy. He absolutely kills it with our guys. And then they got a locker room. So it's very Division 1 like in a lot of ways. And then you add in the fact that our campus is very Division 1 like. It's huge. And then so they kind of get the both feel for the 4 year and the JUCO side of things. And then we're in Overland Park, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City. Johnson County itself, the county has been rated one of the safest and best places to raise a family and live on whatever publications you look at. It's safe, it's nice, there's stuff to do. We're very blessed in that regard too, where guys stay out of trouble because have, they gonna get so bored that they go do some nonsense there. You got plenty to do, plenty to eat, plenty to entertain themselves and get their mind off baseball, which is also important. So very blessed for all the things we have. We know it, and it's nice to be able to offer the student athletes.
Yeah, Mitch, if you didn't know who Coach Yeager was or where he coached, and you didn't know we were talking JUCO baseball today, would you just kind of assume he was talking about a D1 school somewhere?
I think I got a year of eligibility, and I'm trying to figure out if I can still hit or not and go up there and get my weight training going on. Because I will tell you the cell, one of the, I was a better football player recruiting wise than I was baseball. I went to the University of Arkansas when in the late 90s when they really upgraded their weights. It was amazing. And when I went to like Kansas State or Mizzou, it was nowhere close to that. I felt like it was what I have now at my facility. It's just kind of outdated, or my high school. And when I go and I hear this, and this is what we're trying to migrate to in the programming of a director, I'm like, I want to send a guy to that because it's just adding on to the things that we're trying to do to develop our athletes here on the physical side of it. Because I do think that part of the physicality of lifting and stuff like that creates confidence. I want to go see it. So I've actually never looked up your weight room. So I'm going to go to Google and find some pictures, coach, because you're that was the one of the best things that Wash U ever did was try to make it a D1 facility. The way that we traveled, the way that our equipment that we had, the recovery that we had, and that's what I loved about my time at Missouri Western was the cold tubs, the hot tubs, being able to walk through something like that after a long day. I cannot tell you how important that stuff is in the long journey of health. And I'm jazzed. I got goosebumps hearing him just talk about all the stuff that he has, the turf, the community, because that's what it's about. And they support him. I love that.
Yeah, going along with that, coach, on average, does your typical freshman that comes in August, does he come in physically ready for the rigors of JUCO baseball at your level, or on average, do they come in and you're like, okay, we've really got to make sure that this kid is getting on our weights program, buying into the nutrition program we have. What does that look like?
Well, kids don't have a choice. They buy in, or they're gonna get left behind. So we kind of not we, our players do such a really good job establishing that culture in the weight room. So does Paul, our weights guy. So man, a lot of guys know they're not 100% physically ready, especially the guys who've been there with us 2 years. So, but man, guys usually gain 10 to 15 pounds easily throughout the fall. Especially into the winter, we'll buy them protein shakes and stuff like that 3, 4 times a week, and everything to put in their bodies before they lift. And man, they make some big gains physically, because we call it old man strength. By sophomore year, especially that spring, some guys get some old man strength, and they start being able to do some things a little differently than they can as freshmen. But there are some freshmen, kid from the St. Louis area, Ryan Bradford. I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's a freshman with us now. He's tearing it up. That guy came in. He was pretty physically ready. He's a pretty strong kid. So he came in pretty physically ready, and it's showing. He's only just continued to get stronger. So you get all kinds of shapes and sizes in junior college, but they all get with it or get lost here pretty quick as far as the weight room goes.
Yeah, speaking of Ryan Bradford, you benefited from the fact that Kansas State, I guess, didn't. I don't know what happened there, but he was committed to Kansas State. He was no longer committed to Kansas State. When he decommitted from Kansas State, I told everyone I knew, because we had the unfortunate situation of having to play the kid twice a year at Webster, and he was just so hard to get out, so dynamic, so fast. I mean, he was clearly our conference player of the year his junior year when he was healthy. The Division 1 kid, or the kid that commits to a Division 1 when they're a junior, or the kid that goes to a D1 for the first couple weeks of their college life, and then they end up at Johnson County. What do you? I guess how many of those do you have? And what benefit are you seeing from those kids really making the decision to, hey, I'm going to go a different route than go a Division 1 out of high school. Even though I'm a Division 1 talent, I'm going to do this instead because I feel this is what's best for me in my future. Are you seeing those kids start to really see success at your level?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot changed. So man, we get a lot of kids that have either been committed to a Division 1 or been at a Division 1, and we probably get 10 or so a year. And man, it's just the landscape. It's a numbers game. So like K State, for instance, with Bradford, did everything right. They gave him plenty of time. It was a terrible situation, but it was a numbers game. There's nothing they could do about it. They gave the kid plenty of time, and not every program does that. So a lot of times those guys don't have a choice but to go JUCO. Bradford had options, but um, you kind of leave some of these programs will leave a kid kind of stranded out in an island here, and he kind of has to go junior college because you can't really find another D1, because guess what? They're probably cutting kids too. So it's just I don't really know how to tell kids anymore. It's the wild wild west for the most part come summertime. As far as guys committed Division 1s or signed Division 1s, and you got coaching changes, you got all kinds of things that can affect a kid's signing status. So it's a great time to be a college baseball player, but it's not necessarily a great time to be a high school incoming recruit if big time Division 1 baseball is what you're looking for. Because immediately, because a it's hard to play because those guys are 25 years old on some of those rosters. B you just don't know if what you're signing is actually going to translate and get you there, because the transfer portal exists. Just why I just don't know what to tell kids. It's nothing anyone's doing wrong at any level. It's just the way baseball is now. So yeah, it definitely happens a little more than it used to, and guys are having more success, and it's kind of opening up Division 1s to recruit freshmen a little more out of junior college as well, to kind of fill some gaps too. So everything, like we kind of talked about earlier, is changing. So we keep our head on a swivel just as much as some of the players do. We like to think we know more, but we maybe know a little more, but not too terribly much more as far as the changing landscape at that level.
Are there roster restrictions that you need to adhere to at certain times of the fall and winter? Are you ever in a spot where you really want a kid that just became available and you don't have a spot for him and you got to cut a dude you have, or how does that work?
So we actually don't cut people. We that's why. So man, I think it was the last show we were talking about the recruiting process is very difficult with us. Well, yeah, it's because we don't cut people. So in our mind, if we offer you money and you suck, either that's my fault because I didn't recruit or evaluate you correctly, or you have an effort issue, and we'll talk about that when it needs to be talked about. But we don't cut people. We don't pull money. And man, that I think that goes a long way in building trust within your program. But we also don't bring in. We try to keep our roster at 40 people. Now, if like we had a kid, Colin Coonrat, who we had signed out of high school, ended up going to Iowa when they ended up offering him, and he needed a spot late in the summer. Yeah, man, we're gonna take that kid. Especially we had ties with him. He's a great kid. He's hitting in our 4 hole right now. So man, like situations like that do arise, but like we have 38 people on our roster. So I know a lot of people think junior college, especially the good ones, take 60 kids. There are some that do, but a lot of them do what we do. And man, we keep roster numbers down. I stay in the junior college level. I love junior college level because I get to develop kids. I get to develop hitters, develop baseball players, develop men. And we get to do that. So if I have 40 hitters, I'm not giving them enough time. I'm going to get frazzled, and no one's getting the experience they went to junior college for, which was to develop, get better, and be surrounded by guys that push them. And if there's 40 people, nobody wins. So we just try to keep 20 hitters, 20 pitchers is the ideal roster size for us. So yes, we do take guys late to go over that number at times, but we do not cut anybody to do it.
Mitch, I don't know about you. I've been a big proponent of junior college baseball over the last couple of years, just given all these changes. Um, but if Coach Yeager keeps talking, I might try to get some eligibility myself. But I could never play at Johnson. I'd have to go to. I'm not going to name it. I'd have to go somewhere else.
Well, I can wash clothes, man, or something. It's the way that the facility sounds there. And I did want to ask that question to Coach because he kind of just mentioned it. He said that he's been there for 12 years and he loves the JUCO. Like, why did you stay when you've done such a good job there recruiting and things like that? What keeps you at Johnson? 'Cause you said trust, right? And I'm sorry, Dave, for kind of stealing this question here,
No, no, you're fine.
but the thing that I hear is in the recruiting process, you've been there 12 years. You have all these great things. You're building relationships. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to go there. And just like Dave said, I want to go there. So what's keeping you at Johnson County?
Oh, I played there, so man, that's big and foremost. I played for Coach Horner, man, and like I love the place. I have a lot of pride in the place. Being able to help make it what it is now, having a small part in it has been awesome. Like I love it. I love going to the yard every day. It I think it makes me coach more passionately than I would if I was at a place that I had no actual ties to. So man, like some of our guys on teams past probably will wonder why I freaked out in certain scenarios and got mad at them in certain scenarios because man, I take pride in the uniform that we don't wear a jersey anymore as coaches anymore, but the Cavaliers across my chest right now, like I take pride in that. I want them to take pride in that. Understand that you don't take for granted where you are. You could be in a lot worse places. And I tell the guys every year to start the season, like I know a lot of you guys, not one single person's dream school is Johnson County Community College, but man, it's going to be a very cool place if you let it in your story of how you got to where you got to, and whether that be at the next level of baseball, whether it be just as a man in general. If you let the place mean something to you, it's only going to help you, I promise. And that's why I want to stay. And also on a side note, my wife won't let me move either, I would assume. So there is that little tidbit. She loves Johnson County. My kids got their grandparents around here, but I genuinely don't really have desire in leaving the program, regardless if my wife slash boss would let me anyway. So it's just it's just a place I want to be. There's very few places I'd want to go coach, and that Johnson County is definitely top of the list.
I feel like junior college coaches, more than any other level of collegiate baseball, have similar responsibilities to what we as clubs have, because not only do you have to develop, but you have to recruit. And I don't mean recruit. You have to get your guys recruited. Like, you're not just going out and recruiting talent and then developing it. You are also in the trenches trying to get them off to where they need to go next. And
Yep.
that to me is fascinating. because you know that even though you're trying to develop winners now, you're also trying to develop winners at the next level. Whatever level that may be for that particular kid. You're advocating for them. You're you're spending hours, trying to help these kids out and move on to the next level because you're just the first destination. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, so the recruiting process we've done we're a pretty well-oiled machine. We've been together for so long. We kind of have our roles. So our pitching coach handles getting them out. I bring them in. It's typically how it goes. Now I've been there so long. Now the head coach has been there so long. I get phone calls from especially all the local universities and stuff. They'll usually call me. The pro guys will call me just because I've been there longer than he has. They know me really well, and there's a trust factor there. So, but our pitching coach does a phenomenal job of sending everything out. We use those aware cameras. We send video out constantly. Usually once every 3-4 weeks, he's sending updated stats, updated video, updated this and that. Kids make a list of where they want to go, and then the first one they get to pick their list. The next one we have a little more realistic view if needed, on what schools they should be targeting as far as stuff like that. We have them rate that what's most important, whether it be money, location, immediate playing time, conference, stuff like that. We have them rate those things so we can kind of gear towards it. So if a kid wants to go to Arkansas, but for instance, or an SEC program, and money's his big factor, and he's maybe more of a mid-major guy, then we maybe have a conversation where, hey man, that may not be realistic. So we have to have tough conversations with guys in that regard, but as far as the recruiting process goes for guys, we take care of a lot of it for them. We want them to just worry about getting better because I tell them from day one, we're going to coach you like we're a 4 year, like we're playing pro ball. We're not just trying to beat other 18-year-olds. We want to get you ready for big boy baseball because that's why you're here. Again, this isn't your dream school. This isn't your end all be all, I hope. So maybe we want to train you for that next level. We're trying to compete. So there may be days, I tell them, there may be days we're hitting 350 as a team, 400 as a team, and you're getting yelled at because we're not making adjustments. Well, I don't care what you did yesterday. It's what you're going to do today, what you're going to do tomorrow. And that's what's going to keep you in the lineup at the next level. And yeah, man, you may not get out of the lineup at our level. If you're struggling for a couple weeks, but at Division One, I can guarantee you are. If you're not spitting on a breaking ball, or if you're late on a fastball and early on a breaking ball and the same at bat over and over again, yeah, man, you're probably going to get pulled to the next level. So we get a little more leash there to work with you, but you kind of got to learn that regard. So the recruiting process, if they trust us with it and everything like that, it usually goes a little better for them. So we try to take as much of that responsibility off their plate as possible.
Yeah, I feel like something, and Mitch, you might have the same issue when we're at the high school level and we're trying to help our kids get recruited, be it, with any level, explaining to the parents and the kid, it really doesn't matter how much I like you. It really doesn't matter how good of a player I think you are. Like I could think you're a power four guy, but zero power four schools in America could agree with me. You're not a power four player, and it's just reminding them that it's not up to us as to where you're going to go. It's up to the schools. They decide what they like. They decide who they like. They decide why they like them, and I assume you probably get a little bit more buy-in at your level, coach, because they've gone through it once. The parents aren't as involved, and the kids do trust you. But us as club guys, we really need to establish that trust with our parents and with our players, so that they believe us when we tell them, like, yeah, dude, I think you're a stud. I think you're a Division 1 guy, but I talked to 4 Division 1 schools about you, and they said you're a bit short in a couple areas. And those are some tough conversations, aren't they, Mitch?
Oh man, they're difficult. And when I first started coaching at this level, where I started getting athletes recruited in baseball and softball, I felt like it was always easier. And I don't know if that's because maybe I had some better teams on the softball side, where on baseball I had to really, you know, work with these kids. I used to say you have time, right? I used to be able to tell my kids, you could junior year, you still have time, you still have time, you still have time. I don't think you have that anymore. And I think it is 100% up to us to express to them. There's a reason why there's only 8% of high school graduates that go on and play college baseball, and I think that's, if data is a big deal to us, that's the kind of data that they need to understand how difficult it is. So you cannot sleep on a place that you want to go. You can't wait for somebody to respond to you. You can't wait for them to come see you. It's not a needle in a haystack anymore. And for me, it's like, guys, if you want to go to that school, you have got to do everything possible. You need to go to every single camp. You need to find out what showcases they're going to, or whatever you need to do to be in front of them as much as possible. Because if they get to the spring, probably not going to have a whole lot of conversations with you, especially if you're out of town and if you're not getting them the right information or the right emails or the right videos. So you know, what coaches talked about today, I think this thing, it needs to be clipped in about 30 different spots because there's so much information that is important to our high school kids. And I'm not talking 17 and 18s, I'm talking 14, 15, 16, that these folks need to understand what you have to prepare at that age to be ready to just go to Johnson County, and no pun intended, but just Johnson County. You know what I mean? Think about all the good programs because there's obviously good JUCOs. You know, Jeffco's here, Crowder, all these schools are competitive and good. And all I can hear about for me, is the culture that coach has at Johnson County. And I want to go play for him. I'm 45 years old and I want to go play baseball, uh, mostly because he lives in Smithville and he's a Griffin, but I would love to learn how to hit. And if I was in the area, I'd go volunteer to be a coach in that program.
That's
A hundred
awesome.
percent. I think people need to do this more often because, and I'm not saying podcasting, I'm talking about athletes going and visiting him and finding out who they are. Because if you're going to sell me on your program and your community, this is it.
Yeah. How you hear JUCO bandit, coach, right? That's still a big phrase. And
Yeah.
how do you how do you just hammer home the hardworking JUCO bandit, JUCO dog mentality at a darn campus like Johnson County? Like nothing about Johnson County tells me blue collar. So how
Yeah.
do you
Oh no.
infuse that into your program, or do you, for that
So
matter?
no, we do. So man, I am not from Johnson County. Our head coach is not from Johnson County. There's nothing wrong with Johnson County area, obviously, but it is not blue collar. So I do understand that, and there is a reputation that people think that we will not work hard, we aren't tough, and I think the last few years that's gone away because that's not how they're coached. I promise you that. We are coached very tough. We are coached blue collar. We maybe don't spend time yelling at you and all that stuff, but man, if you don't meet your expectations, you don't get to where you want to go. So with our guys, if we hit BP in the fall, if you don't get your bunt down, guess what? You ain't hitting that. You ain't hitting that round. So get your bunt down, or it's on you. So we ever since we started doing that a few years ago, we have guys practicing bunting on their own, not just hitting on their own. So man, we do things to infuse, we want the culture to be established by the players, and we're very blessed this group, especially last year as well. Our captains are phenomenal human beings as well as baseball players. So man, guys want to follow them. So guys know they establish the culture, and it kind of adheres to it. So man, our culture is we are going to work for everything. We are going to win at everything we do. We do not do anything just to do it. And we focus on that kind of regard. And as far as maybe we are not the little tiny country blue collar area that a lot of junior colleges are in, and they like to think that makes you not tough. But there are lots of ways to be tough. It's not just where you go sleep at night. So there are plenty of ways to make our guys tough and win the mental game.
That's awesome. This show is Baseball 101, so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about just the fundamentals of the game of baseball. Are you still teaching those? Obviously, these are highly competitive, highly athletic, and talented individuals. But when you get them on campus, day one, are you still teaching them the fundamentals? Do they still need to learn the fundamentals? What are you
Of
seeing from
course.
today's baseball?
Oh, athletes! I let athletes be athletes. So do all our coaches. So I tell my guys, I am more concerned with being comfortable than being perfectly mechanically sound or fundamentally sound. Because man, especially hitting being my main thing. Like there's so many ways to do it. As long as your barrel's in the zone early and you stay through the baseball, it really doesn't matter what else you do. To be honest, everybody's process getting there is different. So, but I don't remember if it was this show or last show when we were talking. When they get on campus, we break everything down like they don't know it. They've never heard it before. So we're going through all these elementary things to make sure that they know, and we've taught them so that they can be held to that accountability and that standard. And we continue to work on them. And man, we break everything down from how to get back to a base standing up versus how to get your secondary, when to get your secondary. steal jumps, what we're looking for, where we lead off versus a lefty versus a righty, the bunting form. I mean, I could go on and on and on about these things about that we work on from day one, and you just have to now. Kids again just don't necessarily watch baseball to no fault of anybody's, or they don't learn it in every scenario now. So, man, we don't assume they know anything anymore. So we have a whole list that I run through every year and I check off every time we do a thing to make sure we've gone over it. Because if I haven't gone over it, then who am I to assume that you know that or have been taught that? I can't hold you to that accountability standard if you have not been taught it. So there's a process there as well. But yeah, man, we teach everything that we know. We are not the best coaches and most knowledgeable coaches in the world by any means, but we're going to make sure that everything we do know we are passing on to our players to make sure that they know it and can be comfortable in every situation. Because if we practice every situation, most of our BP. We spend more time in situational BP than regular BP typically, because if you've done a situation 100 times in practice, is going to be a lot easier in a game. You're going to feel comfortable. You're going to have had success at it. So stuff like that. And honestly, it helps us too as coaches know where, all right, man, this guy's really bad at this drill in practice in its seventh inning. We may need to put in a guy here to get this bunt down or maybe execute this run and hit to put the team in the best spot to win. So it's a double-edged sword there. It's definitely more for their development, but it helps us too know who's good at it, who's not.
Yeah, Mitch, let's talk offense, right? You're a hitting coach, okay? You work with hitters, right? Hitting is a small part of offense, in my opinion. Offense is all encompassing. Offense is bunting. Offense is not just hitting the ball, but it's having an approach to the plate. Offense is base running. How can we, as baseball clubs that are locked into these indoor facilities in the dead of winter when it's freezing cold outside, how can we make our offense, how can we make our players that we're working with better offensive players than just better hitters?
Man, that's a great question. And, Coach said something that I picked up on. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but the run and hit. And it's just jargon in general, like the difference of hit and run and hit. And it's things like that we don't talk about stuff at baseball practice, right? This is what bothers me about the development process of organizations. You go in for 6 weeks, you're not having a conversation. You're a babysitter. You're throwing baseballs. You have some young guy getting paid $25 an hour, whatever the case may be. For me, what I try to create every scenario that I can imagine. So when we go through our process, even at 9 years old, I'm trying to have kids understand how to swing from a position versus the difference between tilt, rotation, or something like that. I know that they won't get it, but I want to have that conversation. And then I want to talk about with my older kids, like, okay, think about the live AB you just had. What was the pitch that, he threw up and in, you backed off the plate? What do you think naturally is coming? You know what I mean? And just like trying to like guess and sit on something and stay true to where your hot zones are and kind of understanding those things. I don't think we do a good enough job of sitting down and talking about it. I don't think we chart that stuff in the off season. I don't, because we need to get him out in an hour. Right. So again, it goes back to the development process. Why are we only hitting for an hour? You're trying to get 100 swings in. You're trying to hit 18 buckets of baseballs. It doesn't matter. You're not getting any better because I don't think hitting's hard. I think being consistent is hard. And I think when I say that, I clearly understand how difficult it is to hit 300, especially at some of these levels, right? I understand that piece. But I see a ball well. I understand eye dominance. I teach that stuff. Nobody talks about eye dominance in our game, in our facilities, in certain levels. And why have that conversation? Well, if you cut off half the baseball, you can't see it. You know what I mean? So it's like things like that. Parents don't want to see it either. And that's why I asked, are we really just developing marketing opportunities versus actually developing players? Because we don't have a plan. We really don't have a plan because we're just trying to cycle you out in and out. And I don't think that prepares guys for Coach Yeager, and he has to do this stuff all over.
And that's exactly why I asked that question. I could not agree more with you. We're creating, obviously, strength and performance facilities are creating more gifted athletes that play baseball. We're creating kids that can hit the ball harder. We're creating kids that can throw the ball harder. We're helping, create kids who can run faster. But are we creating better baseball players? Are we creating kids that can actually play the game at a high level that can get there on August 1st with Coach Yeager and do the 5 things he's asking him to do that don't involve swinging a bat, right? And no, we're not. We have to be better. We have to be better as a community. I think there are clubs and organizations that are trying to do it, and it's hard. You don't have enough time, right? You have hour and a half per hour practices. You have 30 kids with 3 coaches. A lot of it is kind of eyewash at some times. I
All of it.
hate throwing batting practice. I hate throwing batting practice. I don't believe it makes my hitters any better. I either want them hitting off a machine, I want them hitting with a defense, I want them hitting with base runners. Like I want them hitting in live scenarios. And then after they put the ball in play, I want them to have to run a base. But I can't do that in a 50 by 70 facility, right? So I think a lot of it also is the resources we have. Like, do our indoors in St. Louis big enough to work on base running? Most aren't. Right? Are we going to throw our jackets on and go outside in the parking lot and throw down some bases? We might have to. Um, that's why I love the high school baseball environment so much here, is because we can work on getting better at baseball, not just better at things that you do on a baseball field. Should there be classroom sessions? Should we have whiteboards? Should we be going over cuts and relays? And I have conversations with my kids trying to explain to them the difference between the word cut and the difference between the word relay. And some look at me like I'm speaking Chinese. It's little things like that where, dude, you might be able to hit an 80-mile-an-hour fastball 360 feet with a drop five, but you don't know the difference between the word cut and relay. Like, what are we doing?
What are we
No,
doing?
I about that for days.
Well, I brought
It's
that up, and I feel that we are actually developing dependent players and not guys that can self-organize, adjust, have thought processes on the field, on the mound, at the plate as a catcher, because so much is being done for them. I feel like that's super dependent, that, they rely on us. And I don't like that piece, because we're obviously not developing them to be a great high school player, because most of the time, well, I shouldn't say most of the time, but I see high school coaches that let the kids play and let, like Coach said, athletes be athletes. And I know that he doesn't want to babysit and micromanage people at that level. I use the term, you either have to ish or get off the pot, right? So that to me is kind of what I'm trying to get to my kids. Like, I'll run pressure situations, like where I'll have them hit a baseball and run 5 sprints because I can't get them to run the bases, right? And then I have them come back and hit again. And most of the time, like 95% of the time, a kid will just jump right back in there, take a rep, and it's a terrible rep. At no point did he reset. At no point did he breathe. No. At no point did he do those things. And he's like, Coach, why are you asking me to do that? That makes no sense. What happens if you hit a ball down the line and you're down a run and you got second, third with 2 outs, and you run down? Are you going to stand right in a batter's box and just not reset your mind, reset your focus, reset the at bat? Like, think about what just happened, because all that needs to happen at some point. And people laugh at me all the time for doing stuff like that. But most of the time, I got guys that can hit and be competitive. I don't have great teams. I just have guys that are a little bit of the dirtbag mentality that I hang around. I don't win a bunch of games. I didn't win a bunch of games, but that wasn't why. I wanted my kids to be recruited so that when Coach Yeager saw one of my kids, they had baseball IQ. They understood what PFPs. 14 years old and you don't know what a PFP is, that's a joke. It's terrible to me. And I know that's something petty, but to me, like, that's baseball, and that's how you win conference championships, is being able to cover your positions.
Yeah, coach. When you're watching a recruit, obviously you like him already. You like his swing, you like his attributes, all that fun stuff. What are some of those intangibles that you're looking for, that really sells you on a guy that you might have kind of been on the fence about?
I know it's super cliche, but if you don't hustle down the line, you won't work in our program. And I've I've admittingly, especially the last couple of years, there's been a couple guys that I crossed off the list that have ended up being really good players, and maybe I should have went and gave another chance too. But man, that stuff just drives me nuts. In our program, you put pressure on the defense, we run down the line until the out's made. Now, I'm not the guy you hit a line drive, you have to keep running through the base. That's not what I'm talking about. But until the out is made, you are running hard. Until the ball's in the outfielder's glove, you are running hard. We are taking extra bases, so that's a huge one for me. Just showing the ability to. Um, how guys get the two strikes is a big thing for me. What I watch, so man, I know guys are going to get the two strikes. It's, did you take a borderline pitch? Did you show bad body language? Did you swing through a ball? Did you miss a ball in the zone? Did you foul a pitch off you should have hammered? Are you late in a 3-1 count? Were you late or were you early in the same at bat on two different pitches? Like, do you have a plan? Those are things I like to see, because yes, we do hitting meetings every Monday, to kind of discuss things and to go over approach and plan what we're working on for the thing. Guys have a hitting notebook, all that kind of stuff. So we go over a lot of things that I think we can teach them. But if they have an idea of it coming into it, it's going to be really easy to hit the ground running, and for to be able to hold accountable and stuff like that. So those are a lot of things that I look for. I'm not a huge one. I don't really care about how you run on off the field. You don't need to go nuts and sprint your butt off or anything like that. But at the same time, you got to carry yourself with a little piss and vinegar, and make sure that you run around confident. When you throw the ball around, please, for the love, throw it around fast. Get the ball around. That's not why you throw a ball around, just to lob it. Get that thing around, get it back to the pitcher. Let's keep everybody in rhythm after a strikeout, stuff like that. So, and then obviously if they can field their position, if they're athletic, if they move confidently within the position as well, some things I look at. And then offensively, hitters hit. Obviously, I like to see barrels, but I know that's you can close your eyes and swing hard and hit a barrel every now and then. So I know there's different factors to that as well. And then as a catcher, I was a catching guy. I am a catching guy, and man, you got to lead. A lot of things can be taught. This may be a little bit of a hot take, but the catch and throw is my least important factor. For me, I want to see that you can receive. I want to see that you can block. I want to see that a pitcher is going to be able to trust throwing a breaking ball in the dirt when he needs to, or if he misses, that can be his miss, because you don't want to miss up with the breaker, as you guys know. So man, that catcher needs to be trusted by his pitching staff. So those are things I'll watch, and the catch and throw thing, I feel like I can teach as long as they have a decent amount of arm strength. So the receiving, I like them to have a feel for it, because that means they probably care about their pitchers or their team and stuff like that, if they have a pride in receiving. So all those kind of things go into it. It's I could go on for hours, I'm sure, about it, but it just depends. But it's a lot of things that go on our checklist here.
Yeah, it's all things that it's very hard to develop in a 1 hour setting with 30 kids, is what I heard. that
Yes,
that it takes way more.
for sure.
Mitch, any closing thoughts before we let Coach Yeager go?
Man, this is even for me, this has been a learning opportunity on kind of the things that I need to make sure that I'm doing every single day for my athletes, to get them prepared not only for the high school journey, but to make sure that they're prepared in a fashion to win baseball games. And that's what I keep hearing out of this, right? Is like, what does it take to win? And so the small details, like Coach said, I used to tell my old coach used to tell me to Cadillac off the field, and he said, run off the field with swagger when the inning's over. It doesn't matter if we gave up a few, had some mistakes, just, whatever the case may be, is have some swagger in this game. You have to kind of have that little edge, that little bit of an ego to play the game of baseball. And we need to make sure that we're encouraging our kids to do that with all, some of the humility of the game too, and being humble in this sport. But I tell you what, I want to go play at Johnson County. This is the first time I ever met Coach. I know of Johnson County because I was at Missouri Western. I had to spend some time over at Highland, which is one of the most boring drives that I ever had, was to drive over to Highland Community College in Kansas. But for me, it's like I get excited about the brand of baseball that he wants to play in his group. And as an old school guy, it brings joy to me thinking that there's people out there trying to teach it that same way and still have the same respect that my grandpa taught me how to play this game. And so I'm going to refer the people that I think compete at Johnson County to Coach, and he's going to tell me yes or no. But I'm going to make sure that my 9U team, I'm going to have somebody go to Johnson County, and hopefully Coach is still there.
That's a
Love
long time.
it.
Well, I know it says I got 9 years or whatever it takes to get there, but I love the message, because you brought up like things, just small details, right? Like I get parents that get frustrated with me because I tell them that if we can't play catch, we shouldn't play the game of baseball. It might be a little much for a 9-year-old, but I want them to stay focused. You had talked about your bunt defense or your bunt stuff. If you don't get your bunt down, your round is over. I had a parent ask me why. I said, well, someday it'll pay off. That was my smart Alec remark, which I know that I probably shouldn't have done. I probably actually should have given them the why. I learned that on the other show that we did earlier. Dave kind of suggested I may handle that a little differently. But at the end of the day, it's like I feel confident that what I'm doing is preparing them for high school and beyond.
Yeah, coach has hitters in his lineup who are going to play professional baseball one day and who can hit a ball 400 feet, but they're going to be asked to bunt. They're going to be asked to get a bunt down. They're going to be asked to hit and run, hit behind the runner. They're going to be asked to hit a ground ball to the infield with the infield back of the runner on third, because even though they're highly talented and highly physical, the game's always going to be harder as they go up. Each level they go up, the game becomes harder, no matter how good you are at your current level. And I think that's something we need to remind these young kids and high schoolers. Like, you may be one of the best players in the area, you may be one of the best players at your high school. Have some humility and understand that this game is hard. And no matter how physical and how talented you are, you're going to have to do the little things right at some point in your career if you want to keep going. And that's something that I'm hearing right now is if they want to win at Johnson County, no matter how talented they are, they got to do the little things right.
Oh yeah, it's definitely part of it, man. You gotta embrace what you're doing. I don't love the JUCO grind thing. I don't really buy into the grind thing, because if you're grinding at it, you're not enjoying it. I'm big on, man, do it because you enjoy it, but do it because you have a goal in mind too. So, and again, I know Johnson County Community College is not anybody's dream school, but hey, man, we're all here for various reasons. So let's make the most out of it, and let's all get better together, and try and win a championship. Because I tell them, man, you don't get many opportunities in college baseball to have a shot to win national title. Doesn't matter what level it is. It's pretty cool. Don't take it for granted, and that's a big message, and that kind of helps, I think, get guys to be where their feet are, because we do get guys in other junior colleges do as well, from all kinds of reasons why they're at junior college. Some of them may think they shouldn't be there, and they'll learn real quick that it ain't your mama's junior college anymore. It's a little different now. It's a little more competitive. There's dudes who can turn around your 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I promise you. You fall behind 2-0, you're gonna get hit just like any other level. So stuff like that just kind of yeah, kind of sets the tone and gets guys ready.
Coach, Mitch, thank you guys so much for coming on. This has been great. We could keep going, but we do need to end our show. We all have lives after this. Just once again, Coach Yeager, thank you, and we will get your socials up so people can,
Cool.
obviously not bombard you with messages on X and Instagram, but obviously as well, if they have a prospective player that they think could be a good fit, we want them to be able to contact you or at least get a hold of you in some way.
I appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, that is great. I appreciate you guys having me on as well.
Yes, sir. Mitch, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, hey, everybody, for Baseball 101, Youth Baseball Midwest, I'm your host, Dave Wiggins. We will see you next time.